Hello and welcome to day 2 of riding around the Taiwan coast. Last time, of course, I was mentioning that I was doing the north part tip of Taiwan. So from the west north tip to the east north tip and then stopping in Yilan. More specifically, to Cheng. There's a beach area that I love going to that I always spend a lot of time there. Great place to get up in the morning, watch the sunrise because you can see it coming right over the horizon. Now, there aren't that many beaches in Taiwan. Waiao Beach, I would probably have to say, is the nicest. There's another one in the south called Kenting that everybody goes to. But the reason why I like Waiao is that even during the peak period of summer, it isn't super busy. It isn't overcrowded or anything like that. The waters are warm. The scenery is beautiful. There are some rocks that you can see right now in some areas, but there's also beach areas as well. Now, the sand is very different. If you're expecting white sand or brown sand, you're not going to find it here. It's a black sand, very, very fine black sand, and gets into your swimming trunks rather easily. That island, by the way, in the distance is called Turtle Island. But nevertheless, it is a really, really nice place to go, spend a few hours, and the nice thing is that when you walk into the water, it actually goes quite far before it gets deep, and it's sandy all the way, so you don't have to worry about stepping on rocks or anything like that. There are certain points of the day where it does get, well, a lot more wavier than say it is right now. And this beach has become popular, especially over the last 15 years, because in the whole area of Waiao Beach, there are at least 1 dozen surfing shops, as well as B&Bs like this one, hotels you can stay at. And the prices are quite reasonable. And all the surfing shops, some of them are also B&Bs, offer lessons. And if you go there, you can pay maybe 1,000 Taiwan dollars for hours, and somebody will show you how to surf. It's actually a lot of fun to go and spend some time there. But this day, I didn't go to the beach too late. I actually went quite early because not far from Waiao Beach is a museum that I have passed many times. So many times I've lost count that I've always wanted to go and check out. So that's what I did. I only went to the beach in the morning. As you see, it's very quiet. Most of the surfers, I think at this time, especially it's probably at 10:30, 11 o'clock, are taking a break. There was maybe 100 surfers. But then I left and decided to head to a museum. This is a museum that was built, well, they started construction in 2004. They completed it in 2010. And it's a museum that looks not just at the cultural aspect of Yilan, because there's a rather big Aboriginal community in Yilan, but also looks at the geography, the industries that made, well, I'm not going to say industries, things that made Yilan popular, for example, like fishing and even some mining. And it is a really fascinating museum. Like I said, I have ridden by this museum many times and never went in. And I think it's because I had an expectation that, well, it wouldn't be that good. But then I thought this time, since I'm going around the coast, I'm going to go and check it out. And it is one of those things that, well, it was a pleasant surprise. A really pleasant surprise. I'd only planned to go for 45 minutes. I could have actually spent a lot longer, but I had to go and do something else after this. So I kind of did a run through all the different exhibits in the museum itself. But I do plan to go back to this museum and spend a lot more time in a couple of months, because I really found it absolutely fascinating. There's a lot about the culture in Yilan, going back hundreds, in some cases thousands of years. And as I mentioned before, this is an Aboriginal area. Of course, the Aboriginal tribes today in Taiwan are not as, say, big as they once were, even 200 years ago, but there's still, quite a few tribes. And it basically shows how they lived, the kind of things that they did, fishing and gardening and irrigation, including some of the tools that they used. There's also one part of the museum which is really fascinating. It's about the prehistoric period of Yilan. They did find some fossils going back half a million years and more in some cases. The other nice thing about this museum is that in many ways it's very interactive. Now, there are areas of Taiwan where you can actually still find tribes like this. Of course, they're not living the same way as they did, but they do put on these kind of, those frontier sites you go to in other countries. The United States, for example, they've got one where people dress up in cowboys and they shout cowboy to Indian as it is, or you go to Australia and there's people showing how the Abos lived. Here in Taiwan they do the same thing. Anyway, this is the prehistoric area that I was telling you about that has a number of fossils. Like I said, it is really more than what I was expecting. It isn't expensive. It was only 150 Taiwan dollars. I'll put the exchange rate at the bottom. So that isn't very much at all, and you can literally spend hours in this place, just hours, because it is absolutely fascinating. All the different species of fish that you can find around Yilan. Some of them I don't think you can find anymore. I suspect that some of them now are either endangered or extinct. This, I know this sounds a very geeky and nerdy thing, but this is actually one of my favorite things that I saw there, which was an engine from one of the fishing boats. A very geeky thing. Believe it or not, some of these engines today, and this is like maybe 60 years old, some of them today are in still still in working order on some of the older boats that you can find in some areas. There was also another area of the museum down on the level before you exit that had antiquities from one of the dynasties, and I think some items from the National Palace Museum. Another place that we will visit one day. As I said earlier, this is a museum that I want to go to again because it is absolutely fascinating. Anyway, I couldn't stay that long because I had something else that I had to do, and I wanted to go to the beach to cool off. It was very hot that day. It was 39.5. That's absolutely wonderful. Went for a bit of a dip, took a shower, and then headed off to the appointment that I had. Anyway, next week, or next time, whenever you're watching this, we're going to be heading south. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, send them along. Bye-bye.